All right, welcome back, everyone, to day 4 of our React course. I am absolutely thrilled you're here because today we're tackling the true heart and soul of the whole thing, components. If you've been following along, you know we've set the stage, but today is where the magic really happens. We are going to completely rewire how you look at user interfaces.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever looked at a massive web app, like your favorite social media feed or some heavy enterprise dashboard, and just thought, how on earth does someone code this without their brain melting? I mean, the sheer cognitive overload of trying to manage thousands of lines of interconnected HTML, CSS, and JavaScript all at once, it's literally a nightmare. But that exact nightmare is why modern front-end architecture was born.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll quickly overview the 2026 front-end landscape, explain component-based architecture, look at self-contained UI units, compare class versus functional components, tackle managing component state, and finally look at components in the real world. Let's get to it. Section 1, the 2026 front-end landscape. Before we put our React goggles on, we kind of need to understand the broader ecosystem we're operating in. The front-end world in 2026 is, frankly, incredibly diverse. Different tools take radically different approaches to solving that complex UI problem we just talked about. You have Svelte, which acts as a compiler to remove virtual DOM overhead for tiny bundle sizes. You have Quick, leaning on reusability to deliver instant interactivity with zero initial JavaScript, no hydration needed. And Angular, which is heavily domain-oriented with dependency injection, perfect for those massive enterprise setups. But sitting right up there at the top is React. It remains overwhelmingly dominant. Why? Because it elegantly attacks that complexity problem using a virtual DOM and a strict component-based approach. To really master React, you absolutely must master components. Section 2, Component-Based Architecture Explained. Let's funnel down from that broad landscape specifically into React's core philosophy. What actually is a component-based architecture? Well, here's your foundational definition for the day. A component is a distinct, self-contained unit of a user interface that can be managed and manipulated completely independently. Instead of looking at a web page as one giant continuous document, which is how we all used to do it, you look at it as a collection of independent modules. It's a total game changer. Each module has its own job, its own logic, and its own presentation. So, the crucial point is right here in the official React documentation. It beautifully states, React lets you build user interfaces out of individual pieces called components. You create your own custom pieces. Maybe that's a thumbnail component, a like button component, or a video component. Once you've created these pieces, you seamlessly snap them together to form entire screens, pages, and super robust applications. And the secret weapon that makes this architectural approach so readable and developer-friendly, it's JSX. Basically, JSX is a syntax extension that lets you write HTML-like markup directly inside your JavaScript file. By keeping the markup right next to the logic, your components become incredibly easy to build, maintain, and, honestly, most importantly, delete when you don't need them anymore. Section 3, Self-Contained UI Units. Think of building a web app exactly like playing with a giant box of Legos. We are taking a complex interface and slicing it into individual, manageable, self-contained building blocks. Step 1, you lay down the overall app shell. That's like the big base Lego plate. Step 2, you snap a navigation bar component right onto it. Step 3, inside that, you snap on a search input component, and maybe below that a list of individual video components. Because they are totally self-contained, if the search input breaks, well, it doesn't take down the video list. You literally just pop out that one broken Lego brick, fix it, and snap it back in. Section 4, Class-based versus functional components. Now, historically, there's been a pretty major evolution in how we actually construct these blocks. On one side, we had stateful class components. This was the traditional way. Honestly, they were bulky and relied heavily on complex JavaScript class structures and lifecycle hooks to hold logic. But today, we've largely shifted to stateless functional components. These are streamlined, incredibly simple JavaScript functions. They just receive data and return exactly what should appear on the screen. In modern React development, we've basically left those bulky classes behind for these highly declarative functional components. Section 5, Managing Component State. Now, what's really interesting about this is if modern functional components are stateless by design, how on earth do we make them interactive? Static Lego blocks are cool, but modern apps need a memory. And that brings us to state. State is simply the data your app needs to function at any given moment. It remembers what you just typed into a form, how many items are currently sitting in your shopping cart, or if you toggled on dark mode. Whenever state changes, React automatically updates the screen to match that brand new data. In 2026, we don't just dump all our data into one massive bucket. We categorize it, and categorizing your state is absolutely key to preventing a bloated, slow app. Local state is for UI interactions isolated to a single component, like a simple toggle switch. Global state is for shared data, like knowing if a user is currently logged in. Server state manages data fetched from an API, handling things like caching and background updates. And derived state, that's data we can calculate on the fly from existing state, so we don't have to store it redundantly. Okay, if you only take one rule away regarding data flow today, let it be this: keep your state as local as possible. In modern app design, lifting state globally when you really don't need to is a guaranteed recipe for unnecessary re-renders, sluggish performance, and bugs that are a nightmare to track down. If only the navigation bar needs to know that a menu is open, just keep that state strictly inside the navigation bar component. Simple as that. Section 6. Components in the real world. Let's move to and see how this builds out in actual industry examples. It's one thing to talk about Legos in theory, but consider this. A single Facebook page load might render tens of thousands of these tiny independent component blocks in mere milliseconds. No way, right? But it's true. Facebook built their massive web platform using this exact component architecture, and they extended to mobile with React Native. Instagram uses React components for complex features like geolocation and integrated maps. And Netflix, a platform where runtime speed is absolutely critical, they rely on React for its exceptional performance and UI modularity. They use the exact same principles we're talking about today to serve millions of users flawlessly. Which leaves us with this final thought. You now know what components are, how to break down a UI into those self-contained units, and how state acts as the memory to bring them to life. So, how will you architect the components for your own application tomorrow? As you review today's explainer, start looking at the websites you use every single day. Ask yourself, how would I break this page down into React components? That mental shift is exactly what we'll rely on for day 5, where we start actually writing these components from scratch. Can't wait to see you then.